Armand stood alone in the quiet cemetery. The cold wind whispered softly through the trees. Around him, flowers swayed gently, and the sky was gray and heavy. His eyes were fixed on the small grave before him. It was the grave of his beloved wife. Aisha Armand was a billionaire CEO, a man who controlled businesses worth millions. He wore expensive clothes and carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. But here, in this quiet place, all the money and power felt empty. All he could feel was pain and loss. He remembered the day Aisha died, how the world seemed to stop. The house felt silent without her laughter. His heart ached every day since. As Armand turned to leave, he heard something soft, a whisper carried by the wind. Mom. The word was so quiet that at first Armand thought it was just his mind playing tricks. But then he heard it again, clearer this time. Mom. He froze. His heart beat fast. He looked around but saw no one. Slowly, Armand turned back toward the grave. From behind a nearby tree, he saw a small figure, a poor girl, standing barefoot on the cold ground. Her clothes were old and torn. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were wide, full of fear and sadness. The girl looked at the grave and then at Armand. Her lips moved, and she whispered again, Mom. Armand's breath caught in his throat. Who was this girl? How did she know the name of his wife, and why did she call Aisha Mom? Armand took a step closer, trying not to scare her. Hello, he said gently. Do you need help? The girl looked at him for a long moment. Then she slowly nodded. Armand reached into his pocket and took out a small packet of tissues. He offered it to her, but she shook her head. Instead, she took a torn photograph from her small bag. The edges were ripped and the colors faded. She held it out to Armand. Armand took the photo carefully. His eyes widened in shock. The picture was old, but he recognized it immediately. It was a photo of Aisha, his wife, holding a little girl's hand. The girl looked just like the one standing before him. Armand looked at the girl and back at the photo. The pieces of a hidden story began to fall into place, but questions filled his mind. How did you get this? He asked softly. The girl looked down, her voice trembling. My mother gave it to me, she said. She told me to find you. Armand's heart tightened. Who was this mother? Why had no one told him about this before? He wanted to ask more, but the girl was already turning away, her small shoulders shaking. Wait, Armand said, moving closer. What is your name? The girl stopped and looked back. Zara, she whispered. Armand felt a strange connection with Zara, a feeling he could not explain. He wanted to protect her, to know her story. The wind blew stronger, carrying the soft sound of leaves rustling. Armand took a deep breath and said, Zara, let me help you. Zara looked at him with uncertain eyes but nodded slowly. For the first time in a long time, Armand felt hope. The rich man, lost in grief, and the poor girl, lost in fear, were about to begin a journey neither expected. As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow over the graveyard, Armand held the torn photograph tightly. He knew that whatever secret Zara held would change everything, and deep inside, his heart whispered a silent prayer. The next morning, Armand woke with the photograph, still heavy in his mind. He sat in his large office, the sunlight streaming through the windows, but his heart felt dark and full of questions. Who was Zara's mother? Why had no one told him about this before? And why had the girl called his wife Mom? Armand held the photo again. Aisha was smiling, holding a small hand. It looked like a happy moment from a long time ago. But Armand knew his life had been full of secrets. He decided to find Zara's story, and maybe his own. Armand called Zara and asked if she would meet him again. She agreed, but she was quiet and careful. They met at a small park near the city center. The park was busy with people, but Zara seemed lost in her own world. Armand wanted to help, but he didn't know where to start. Zara, he said gently, can you tell me about your mother? About your family? Zara's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. My mother? She was kind, Zara began slowly. She loved me very much, but life was hard. We had nothing. Armin listened closely. Zara's voice trembled as she told him how her mother had worked hard but was sick for a long time. Before she died, she gave me the photo, Zara said. She told me to find you. She said you could help me. Armin felt a wave of guilt and sadness. He had been so busy with his work, with his wealth, that he had never thought about the people who might need him most. For the first time, Armin looked at his life differently. He thought about Aisha and the secrets she might have kept. Why had she never told him about Zara and her mother? Was there something she wanted him to know? Armin and Zara began to spend more time together. He wanted to understand her world, the world of poverty and pain that was so different from his own. They walked through the narrow streets of the poorer parts of the city. Zara showed him where she grew up. Small, crowded houses, broken roads and hungry children. Armin saw things he had never noticed before. He saw the struggle and the strength of people who fought every day just to survive. One afternoon, as they sat on a bench near an old church, Zara looked at Armin seriously. "There is something else," she said. Armin leaned closer. "My mother," said. "She knew your wife," Zara whispered. Armin's heart raced. "Do you mean Aisha?" he asked. Zara nodded. "She was kind to my mother," Zara said. "She helped them once, a long time ago." Armin was surprised. He had no memory of this, but Zara's words felt true. That night, Armin sat alone, thinking. He pulled out old boxes of letters and photographs he had kept from his early years with Aisha. He began to read. Slowly, he started to uncover a past he had forgotten. A past where Aisha had tried to help a struggling family. But something had gone wrong. Armin's eyes filled with tears as he read a letter from Aisha, written before she died. In it, she spoke of a promise to protect a little girl and her mother, but the promise was never fulfilled. Armin knew now what he had to do. He had to find Zara's mother's story, and he had to keep his wife's promise. His life of wealth and power was not enough. He needed to be a man of honor, for Zara, for Aisha, and for himself. The next day, Armin called Zara. "We will find the truth," he said. Zara smiled faintly, hope shining in her eyes. Together, they would uncover the past, no matter what it cost. Armin and Zara stepped carefully through the narrow streets of the old part of the city. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over cracked walls and dusty roads. The air smelled of smoke and old wood. Zara walked ahead, her small hand tucked tightly in Armin's large one. She seemed nervous but determined. "This is where I grew up," Zara said softly, looking at the faded houses around her. Armin's heart tightened. He saw the broken windows, the peeling paint, and the empty streets. This was a world far from his luxury offices and tall buildings. Suddenly, Zara stopped in front of a small, rundown house. The door hung on one hinge, and the garden was overgrown with weeds. "This is the place," Zara said, her voice trembling. Armin looked at the house carefully. He noticed old papers scattered near the doorstep and faded photographs stuck on the window glass. "Are you sure this is where your mother lived?" Armin asked gently. Zara nodded, her eyes full of tears. "My mother wanted me to find you here," she whispered. Armin took a deep breath and pushed the door open slowly. It creaked loudly, and dust filled the air. Inside, the house was dark and cold. The walls were cracked, and the floorboards creaked under their feet. Armin saw a small table covered with yellowed letters and photos. He picked up a letter, and the handwriting was delicate but hurried. He began to read aloud. "My dear Armin, if you are reading this, then many things have changed. I am sorry I never told you the whole truth." Zara's eyes grew wide. She looked at Armin, waiting for him to continue. Armin read on. The letter was from Aisha, written many years ago. It told a secret story, a story of love, fear, and sacrifice. Aisha had met Zara's mother when she was young and poor. They had become friends in a small neighborhood far from the city center. But danger came when Zara's mother fell ill and could no longer work. Isha promised to help them both, but powerful people in Armin's company stopped her. The promise was broken, and Zara's mother disappeared. Armin's hands shook as he finished the letter. "How could I not know this?" he whispered. Zara's voice was soft but strong. "They wanted to hide the truth. They didn't want you to find us." Armin felt a sharp pain in his chest, not just from guilt, but from the cold truth he had ignored. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from the street. Armin looked out the window and saw a man watching the house carefully. A stranger, tall and shadowed. Zara grabbed Armin's arm tightly. "We are not safe here," she said. Armin nodded. He understood now that uncovering the truth was dangerous. But he was ready. "For Zara, for Aisha, I will fight," he said quietly. Together they left the house, the weight of secrets heavy on their shoulders. As they walked back through the streets, the city lights began to twinkle. Armin looked at Zara and whispered, "We will find the answers, no matter what." Zara smiled faintly, hope shining in her eyes. The journey was just beginning. The days after their visit to the old house were filled with questions for Armin. His mind could not rest. He kept thinking about the letter from Aisha, the promise she had made, and the family she had left behind. He sat in his large office, the city lights glowing outside his window. He looked at the torn photograph Zara had given him. It was a picture of a happier time. Aisha holding the hand of a little girl, both smiling softly. Armin knew he had to dig deeper. He asked his assistant to search for anything related to Zara's mother. Her name was Sana. Within a day, Armin received a folder full of old files, hidden away in the company's records. As he flipped through the pages, a story began to emerge. Sana had once worked for a charity supported by Armin's company. She was known for her kindness and strength, despite poverty. But a business deal had gone wrong. Some powerful people in Armin's company wanted to cut ties with the charity. They saw Sana and her family as a problem. Aisha had tried to protect Sana and her daughter, but was forced to stay silent. Armin felt a deep sadness. His wife had carried this secret alone. He called Zara and said, "We need to meet again. There's more you should know." Zara and Armin met at a quiet cafe. Zara looked nervous but determined. Armin opened the folder and showed her the papers. "There is a connection between your mother and my wife," Armin said slowly. "They were friends once, long before I met Aisha." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "I never knew." Armin nodded. "And there is more. The people who wanted to hurt your family, they still have power." Zara's face grew pale. "So they want to stop us?" "Yes," Armin said firmly. "But I promise I will protect you." As they talked, Armin noticed Zara's strength. She was not just a scared girl, she was brave and full of hope. He felt something change inside him, a new purpose. Together they planned their next steps. Armin decided to visit the charity center where Sana had worked. Maybe there they could find answers. The charity center was small but full of life. Volunteers worked hard to help children and families. Armin met an old woman named Fatima, who had known Sana well. Fatima's eyes were kind but tired. She was a good woman, Fatima said, always thinking of others even when she had nothing. Armin listened carefully. Fatima told him how Sana had disappeared after a threat from dangerous people connected to the business world. She left to protect her daughter, Fatima said softly. She wanted Zara to be safe. Armin felt a heavy weight on his heart. Zara's story was not just about loss. It was about courage and survival. As Armin and Zara left the charity center, the sky was dark and cloudy. Armin looked at Zara and said, "We will find her, your mother, and we will bring her home." Zara smiled faintly. For the first time, she believed that the past could be changed, and Armin knew that together, they would face whatever came next. Armin and Zara's search for Sana grew more urgent. Every step brought new dangers, but neither wanted to give up. Armin had learned that powerful people wanted to keep Sana's story hidden. They feared the truth could ruin their plans and destroy their reputations. One evening, Armin received A call from an unknown number. A deep voice warned him to stop asking questions. "Leave this alone or you will regret it," the voice said coldly. Armin's hands clenched the phone tightly. He knew this was serious, but he looked at Zara's determined face and felt a new strength. "We cannot stop now," Armin told her. The next day, Armin and Zara visited an old friend of Sana's, a man named Karim who had once worked with her. Karim was nervous when they arrived. He glanced around before letting them in. "I know things you don't," Karim said quietly. "Sana was caught in something dangerous. Some people wanted her gone." Armin listened carefully as Karim told them about secret meetings and threats. "They wanted to silence Sana," Karim said. "She had proof of their crimes." Zara's eyes widened. "What kind of proof?" Karim reached under his chair and pulled out a small folder. Inside were documents, photos, and letters. Evidence of corruption and fraud in Armand's company. Armand's heart pounded. The truth was worse than he imagined. That night, Armand stayed, awake thinking about the danger. He called his most trusted friend and lawyer, Mr. Khan. "We need to protect Zara and find Sana," Armand said firmly, "and expose those who are hiding the truth." Mr. Khan promised to help and began preparing legal actions. The days that followed were tense. Armin and Zara met with journalists and investigators who wanted to tell the story. But shadowy figures watched their every move. One night, Zara disappeared. Armin's world turned upside down. He searched everywhere but could not find her. His heart ached with fear. 3 days later, Zara returned alone. She looked tired but safe. "They warned me," she said quietly. "Told me to stop." Armin held her hand tightly. "We will not stop," he said. Together, they made a plan to go public with the evidence. Armin knew this could destroy his company, but he was ready to pay the price. For Zara, for Sana, and for Aisha, the truth had to come out. The story of corruption, danger, and courage was about to change everything. And Armin's life, and Zara's, would never be the same again. After Zara's frightening disappearance, Armin knew the stakes were higher than ever. The people hiding the truth were dangerous, but he refused to back down. One morning, a surprising message came. It was from someone Armin never expected, Mr. Ahmed, a senior executive in his company. Mr. Ahmed asked to meet privately. Armin was cautious but curious. He agreed. They met at a quiet cafe far from prying eyes. Mr. Ahmed looked serious. "I've been watching," he said quietly. "I know about the corruption and the threats." Armin studied him carefully. Could he trust this man? "I want to help," Mr. Ahmed continued. "I believe in doing what's right." Armin felt a flicker of hope. For the first time, he had an ally inside the company. Mr. Ahmed shared secret documents and emails proving the corruption. He told Armin that some executives were involved in illegal deals, stealing money, and hurting families like Zara's. Armin was shocked but grateful. With this help, they could build a stronger case. Together, Armin, Zara, and Mr. Ahmed planned their next steps. They would go to the authorities and the media with the evidence. But they had to be careful. The enemy was watching. Days later, as they prepared to reveal the truth, Armin received a call. It was from a lawyer representing the company's board. They warned him to stop or face severe consequences. Armin's resolve grew stronger. He knew this fight was bigger than him. Then, unexpectedly, Sana returned. She appeared, at the charity center, weak but alive. Zara ran to her mother's arms, tears streaming down both their faces. Sana whispered, "I had to hide to protect you." Armin looked at them, feeling a mix of relief and determination. The next day, Armin, Zara, and Sana went to the police together. They handed over the evidence with hope. The investigation began. As the news spread, people started to talk. Armin's company faced a crisis, but the truth was out. And for the first time in a long time, Armin felt peace. He had found family, justice, and a new purpose. The road ahead was still difficult, but together, they were ready. The courtroom was full of people. Journalists, lawyers, and strangers all watched as Armin, Zara, and Sana sat together. The long fight for truth was finally coming to an end. Armin looked at Zara, her eyes shining with hope. Sana held Zara's hand tightly. The mother and daughter, reunited at last. The judge spoke firmly. The evidence is clear. The corruption inside the company will be punished. Arman felt a heavy weight lift from his heart. Justice was beginning. Outside the courthouse, people gathered. Some cheered. Others whispered stories of courage and truth. Arman spoke to the crowd. This is not just my victory. It is for everyone who has suffered in silence. Zara smiled. Beside him, we are finally free. Life started to change for all of them. Sana returned to the charity, helping others like her family. Zara went back to school, dreaming of a bright future. Arman stepped down from his CEO position. He decided to start a foundation to support poor families and fight corruption. One evening, Arman stood by the grave of his late wife Aisha. The wind was soft, and the sky was clear. He whispered, "Thank you for giving me the strength to do what is right." Zara came and stood beside him. She looked up at the stars. "Mom would be proud," she said softly. Arman smiled, feeling peace for the first time in years. They had lost much, but they had found each other. The pain and the struggle had brought them together. Now they were ready to face the future, stronger, kinder, and full of hope. The story of loss, truth, and love ended with a new beginning.